My name is Rose Berler, and I'm a retired nurse. I've lived in Alexandria 55 years. What do I find that's special about Alexandria? It's a wonderful community, caring, lots of activities. Well, the reason that I live in Alexandria is that when we first moved here from Hampton, Virginia, my husband was a physicist with the Defense Intelligence Agency, and we had an apartment not far away, and we decided to go looking for a house, and we came down the road one day, and the Broyhill development, known as Lincolnia Hills, was well underway and had a good reputation, and we happened to go down Kelly Court, and there was a house right with the woods behind and all, and we bought the house immediately. My husband just couldn't resist it, so that's what happened. Well, of course, the opportunities, anytime that you want to help people, there are opportunities on a daily basis, more than you can handle. So with my nursing background, I didn't have any trouble being interested in things that needed some help. And that's how I got involved, not only by being asked, but on my own looking into it. My father was in and out of hospital due to a bone injury he had received while serving in the Coast Guard when he first came to this country from Denmark. So my sister and I grew up visiting on many occasions in and out of hospital, and we decided we were going to be a nurse, period. Well, my life story. I was born in Norfolk, Virginia. My mother came from a very large family, so I had cousins all over the place. My grandmother lived across the street from us, so I had a wonderful memory of those days. My aunt lived around the corner, and she had 6 children, so I had a lot of cousins to play with, friends as well. For all the Jewish holidays, my aunt was Orthodox. My uncle, of course, very Orthodox. He was from Poland. So my sister and I grew up with all of the good, huge dinners that never seemed to end. And my uncle never missed a word as he would read the service. Even his own little sons would say, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and he would just go about his business until we got done, especially on Rosh Hashanah. So I think that that kind of closeness with cousins who lived nearby, grandmother across the street, it's the kind of thing that stays with you. You don't forget it. Well, my mother came from a large family. I think she had 2 sisters and 4 brothers. And as I say, they were all in Norfolk, so there was family all over the place, which was nice, really. My father was very good help to my grandfather across the street. When he needed help, he had been quite ill. And once again, I think that just it was a family that we often saw each other, knew each other through the years. Those memories stay with you, very much so. My sister and I were, I think, early on, the first to leave Norfolk and go to nursing school in Baltimore. So we were considered what? The Norfolk General's right here. What do you mean, Sinai Hospital? So we said, no, that's where we're going. I was a couple years older than my sister, so she was a class behind me. First of all, I think the main thing about nurses training at Sinai, as we knew it, was extremely strict You either did exactly what you were told to do, or you were not there. I lost several classmates. They meant business, and you had to feel that, and I did. So I think that it paid off through the years, because when you feel how serious it is when you're dealing with people who need help, you carry that along all the way. When I was a school nurse, dealing with families, which is so important, and that's sometimes that's the hardest thing. A child will listen to you, but the parents might be either upset, worried, busy working, and just as in today, we have the same situation. I've chaired the School Health Advisory Board for quite a few years, and we're dealing now with a changing population, new language to deal with. I don't speak Spanish, but we have interpreters, not only Spanish, but many other languages. But I think the basic thing that you're talking about, you either are willing to go along with the regimen, or you're not going to last with it. But I felt very serious about it, and I wanted to stay with it, and I do to this day. I think nursing has always been, perhaps, just as teaching is a profession, so would nursing be, because what would you do without nurses? I mean, really. Now, what kind of nurse was I? In my training days at Sinai Hospital, I was selected for psychiatric training at Shepherd and Enoch Pratt. I was selected for public health duty with regard to children. I was particularly interested in pediatrics. I won the pediatric prize when I graduated, and I went to Catholic University. I wanted to go to Minnesota, not today because it's too cold, but because of the Mayo Clinic and such. But I went to Catholic U, which had a very good name in nursing education, because my father was in the hospital at the time, and I could be closer to Norfolk. And so I think that just that whole combination, not only of pediatrics, but I worked, when I went back to Norfolk to be closer to home, be closer to my dad, I worked for one of the town's leading surgeons. I worked at DePaul Hospital. I've worked in various locations in a hospital, yeah, because we were trained that way, right. When I got involved in housing, it's because someone in the city recommended that I serve on the housing board, and that's how that happened. First woman and first woman chair, yeah, back in those days, right. Many of my activities, of course, relate to health, but I think that at the Housing Authority, I felt that not only that the roof shouldn't leak, but what about the families who live there? The children in particular, since I'm geared to pediatrics. But I think that this whole idea of looking at the whole picture of a safe place to live, and then what the city has to offer as far as education, jobs, in other words, to make life better. And I think that much of that has improved through the years compared to the early days. And I think that that's because of a composite picture from the whole city council in particular, to make sure that their citizens are well cared for. And I think that's the key thing. You want a healthy, happy person who will have opportunities to move forward. And it can start very early, even before kindergarten. If a family needed help, then I knew or I hoped that I knew who to get to help any situation at all. Family comes first. That sounds simple enough. But I think that In nursing, you learn a great deal about making every minute count. What the patient's needs are, what the doctor had to say, the whole routine of daily work in a hospital. And I think that much of that applies to life at home. Is supper ready? Did the children take their bath? All of the ordinary things that we think about. And also to make sure that there is a feeling of care. I think that's the thing, yeah. Now, where did I get emotional support from? From myself and from my husband, who was an exceptional person. It's true that his job sometimes took him traveling around the United States, but when he was there, the children knew that Daddy cared in every way, and he made sure that he spent time with them, whether it was going to the zoo when they got older, to see a show in New York, all good things. He was an exceptional person. So from the both of us, they got that kind of care, and they will say that to this day. I have 2 daughters and a son. Now, how does the School Health Advisory Board really work? It works because the members consist of not just me, but parents, pediatrician, from the mental health field, from every field imaginable that would be dealing with school-aged children and or adults, in this case children. So we have a composite view of the 10 or 12 people that might be around the table, including a school board member, that they wouldn't be there if they weren't interested. Some are appointed because of their relationship with the various offices that they deal with, from mental health to nutrition, inoculations, all sorts of things, food needs, diabetes, various illnesses. So it's a very, very comprehensive, across the board number of people who can address just about everything or know who to touch if a question remains unanswered or if we're unable to pursue it. Actually, our nurse received a Best School Nurse Professional in the state of Virginia, and we're hoping she gets national recognition. So you can see, I think, all that to me means that people who are there, they just didn't come because we might have a cookie one day. They're there because they are absolutely interested in the school health profile and how the city addresses, the cities and the school, the city and the schools together address the needs of the children. I think it's just a marvelous combination, and we try not to leave anything unattended. Well, I could stay there forever, but I think how long do I intend to stay there? Well, the school board has reappointed me, and that opportunity comes up again towards this spring, and I was just thinking about that. I can still go to the meetings even if I'm not on the board, but I haven't made up my mind yet. Now you've caused me to rethink that I better do it again or I better not do it again, so I'm going to leave that unanswered, right? Now, how would I like to be remembered? Now, I've never thought about that because I think that when you're busy, you don't think of those things. But now that you've asked it, I want to be remembered as a person who was interested in people and in activities in the community and elsewhere as well. I was the first woman on the Virginia Housing Development Authority in Richmond, and when I got there, someone said, "Where will Rose sit?" And I picked a chair and I sat down. So the idea is get on with the business. And I think that I'm still laughing over that one, but you do what is smack in front of you and get it done, try to do well, and then you get on to the next thing. I think you're just born that way. I can't change. Were there any frustrations along the way? You know, I would really have to think about that, because I'm sure there are frustrations, but I don't stop with that. I prefer to seek resolution. So I don't let frustrations, they don't keep me awake at night. And if I'm working with a committee on anything, we just move ahead. I think resolution is the key thing. Yeah. In Norfolk, the big joy was to go to the beach. Now, Virginia Beach was not too far away, and Ocean View. And so, yes, my uncle would take us to the beach, and we would scamper around, and my aunt would bring a full course meal for us to eat, because that's the way she was. So spending time at the beach was just a joy, and it still is. Recently went down to Virginia Beach again. My sister came in from Connecticut, and we went down. I have a cousin who still lives at the beach. And as we walked up and down, we reminisced about the good old days. Of course, at Virginia Beach, the waves were big, and you had to be careful. At Ocean View, not as strong, and you could mess around in the water and play more. But those were happy days to be at the beach. We would collect shells and see a lot of friends. So being close to the beach was especially very, very nice, wonderful. Was I best friends with my sister? Yes, we were very close. I think, well, in growing up together with my aunt and her big family living around the two corners from us, we were used to being together. And my aunt had two daughters, and they were near the same age as my sister and me. So we were used to that from a very, very early age. And my sister is still, although she lived in Connecticut because that was where her husband's job was, and we lived here, but we still get together, and we always will. Yes, we were close. My father left Denmark because he wanted to come to America and not be involved with any possible German involvement in the area at that time. So that when he came to this country, he joined the Coast Guard and spent some time. That's where he was injured and caused all of the operations and such medical care that he received through the years from an infection in one of his bones, leg bones. But he came here because he wanted to come to America. Yeah. He worked for the Railway Express for many, many years, delivering packages and that sort of thing, right. It's just that when I think the composite picture of growing up is that you remember some things very well, but remembering when he came here must not be on my list, so I'd have to look that up. I only remember what a marvelous, wonderful guy he was, exceptional. One thing I would like to mention that has stayed with me, and that's when my youngest cousin, a boy who was in the service during World War II, was the day he came home. I will never forget that. We all gathered at my aunt's house, and I was married at my aunt's house years later. And we stood there, a car drove up, and Paul got out of the car. We called him Tookie. That was his nickname. That, to me, is I have never forgotten. And I think that all of my boy cousins were in the service, Navy in particular, because Norfolk's a Navy town. But he was in the Army and had been through a lot. But that was a memorable event. I haven't forgotten that. Well, I don't want to be rude, but I think one thing that you can remember is that when the Army-Navy game is on, I'm Navy. As one of my Boston friends said one time, the governor of Virginia was speaking at Temple Bethel on some particular matters, and I had been asked to say a few words, and I said, it's a pleasure to meet you, Governor, and I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. And my friend who was sitting nearby, who was from Boston, said, Rose, it's Norfolk. So I said, I'm still laughing about that because Norfolk was Norfolk, really. And which will only tell you how some things stick with you, and because you can laugh, and laughter is important. Things that are serious, you don't forget them, but you try to put them aside and hope that they're resolved. That's the main thing, yeah. That's the nurse in me, yeah. I'm sitting here still amazed that I'm talking to you. It's not the kind of thing that you would ever say, oh, let's see now. First I'll go to the store, and then I'll go to the bank, and then I'll go to Living Legends. They're going to take my picture today. You go about your business doing things, and this comes about as a complete surprise. You're very, very pleased when Arlene Hewitt told me that she had submitted my name. I thought, oh my gosh. So when it all happened, it's not something that you go up and down the street talking to people about, hi there, you know, I'm a living legend. Oh, gee, oh gosh. You don't do that. At least I don't do that. And I think that most people, as I look at their pictures and all, would feel the same way. They've been too busy being involved in so many things that this comes as quite an honor and a surprise. So that would be the way I would look at it, right? And I think that I'm not going to sit back and do nothing. I'll continue to do some things. I'm honored, really. I still can't believe it, and I think my sister's coming from Connecticut, and my niece, my daughter's coming from Texas for the reception. My son lives in Washington, so he's close by. But it will be a wonderful day, and I think that my feeling is that I'm not going to change. It's too late for me to change, so I better pay my taxes on time and do the right thing. I think Living Legends records not only the people who've been active in the community, and you don't do all of that unless you really want to, but it's a panoramic view of what has happened in Alexandria and will continue to happen in many, many ways. Living Legends represents a group of people who conscientiously, with good heart and good feeling, gave their all for the benefit of people in the community. And there's no question about that. I think the history speaks for itself. I'm still not only pleased at being asked and then selected as a living legend, and of course I'm only 39, so I have a way to go before I get to be a real legend. But I think that it's just, again, it covers so much in the city, what the city has to offer and how people become involved. And I think that while you are doing all of the things that you're interested in or have been asked to participate, you never really say, oh, well, I'll probably be a living legend. That's not the point. The point is that you're doing what you hope is helpful to the community. That's the main thing.